What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Innovators Den. I'm your host, Danny Silverio, at formerly known as hashtag on Instagram. I'm here with the co-host, Steve Old Business.
How you doing, guys?
Just tell us what you've been doing, Ricardo. Let us know what's going on.
What I've been doing? Nothing. Nah, I've been doing a lot with community work. I've been working a lot with low-income communities, different organizations, schools, and a lot of businesses that want to do something. So now I'm in the phase of, okay, let's get the community together, let's build the community of intention, let's do something about it, you know. So one of the big things we're about to do is a little fundraiser in May, and then in June we're gonna do a citywide beautification project. We're plugged in, and the blockchain center.
Shout out to the Blockchain Center.
Shout out to Plugged In, for being able to understand the vision. So well, what I'm working on right now is intention. You know what I mean? Where I'm at that phase right now that it's like I'm just trying to have people that see the vision that we can share, and how do we build business together, right? Locally here in New York City, but expand then out to countries where we're from. As you're gonna see, we have a wide network, and it's like, so how do we do things in a way that's sustainable at all facets?
So, what would you say? Like, it's one project that kind of highlights your last 10 years of experience or whatnot in this industry.
I have many careers, right? I'm everything from a chef. I was in banking. I became energy efficiency contractor for the state. And I did a lot of things because kind of that's what needs to happen as you grow up. And I've been trying to find things that you love to do in life, right? So right now I'm kind of using all those tools to bring this thing together. So I already have things that I've done. I've done beautification projects, right? I've done big events. I have helped many communities and people. That's nothing new. My big thing that I'm trying to do now, kind of that brings together, let's say, those 10 years, 20 years of experience, and the network that I have now, right? Because I'm about backing things up. I was raised in Brooklyn, right? And it's about what you say, your integrity, right? So my whole thing is, all right, so now how do we do something? One of my big visions right now is that I'm pitching is building carbon negative environments, right?
So,
What
sustainability.
is that, right? It's full, not it's beyond sustainability. To me, it is intertwining culture and the future together, type of thing. What do I mean by that? And what is carbon negative? The city already has goals. There's local law compliance. State is on the same side for 2050 for New York City. That's going to be carbon neutral, supposedly, right? That means smart buildings and infrastructure. To me, that means how do we do the training around this so it gets to our communities also? Because our communities of color are usually environmental justice zones, right? We're not even going to get into what fully that means, but that's not good for us. We all know people that got asthma and breathing
Right,
problems,
right,
right?
right.
We all know, let's not even talk about food justice among all these other things, right? So my whole thing is, all right, how can you progressively change that, right? I'm not into complaining. I'm into finding solutions and getting things done, right? So out of that, what we're talking about is focusing in these environmental justice areas that we're from, that we're seeking, and how do we absorb that carbon through cannabis, right? So our communities are all part of the cannabis industry. And then we're going to talk about equity, and we're going to talk about justice. A lot of things happen to our communities because of cannabis alone,
Right.
right? The history of cannabis in itself is racist. That we're going to talk about this, right? And I'm not talking about having more people smoke in the corner, which there's nothing wrong with that, and now we're going to get lucky to have spaces for this. But what I'm talking about is this. I look at it as agriculture, and I'm a chef also, right? And to me, it's like, how can we grow cannabis in our rooftops, right? Or hemp, absorb this carbon, right? That's killing us. When it's to a certain degree, chop it up and make it into insulation that we're going to use inside of our homes, because we don't talk about the paint We don't talk about the chemicals that mix off of this that gives us cancer and all these other things. So we're looking at it more from a preventative point of view, right? Because we know the problems. How do we cure that? It diversifies us in the industry. Luckily, I'm part of the OCM process. I'm part of the first cohort going through the Office of Cannabis Management.
Right.
Ideally, I'm trying to get my micro license, so now I could not deal with a middle person and say, okay, I could do this fully with the team that all of us are kind of putting together.
Right.
How do then we get into not only from A to Z services and do full vertical integration, right? Because we don't do that. Because like I mentioned, other people become international for us, and I understand the power of equity. What we don't understand is the power of us working together, right? Everyone else does it, right? Call them conglomerates, call them co-ops. No matter what it is, we don't have them in our own communities, and hopefully us starting to work together this year, you're going to see things that we're doing not only to build business, but to build our communities back up, right? So as we at a macro level talking about carbon negative, because I'm also working with companies that have smart energy for smart systems, right? Because everything's going to be connected, irrigation system, HVAC, solar panels, all that other stuff. I'm already in there in that space. So now it's like, how do we get ahead of the game? But how do we become a part of the build out on that also? Which
Right.
is why training is important, information is important, entrepreneurship is important, right? There's contracts, things that are out there, and this is $1 billion industry. Why would you not want to get in the game? So I look at it as compound hustle, right? Because you have construction industry and what's coming down the pipeline, that you already see that
Right.
money there
All the
at
time.
billions and trillions of dollars. And now you have the cannabis industry that's going to $1 trillion industry also. And they're fighting for DR to become legal.
Right.
Ecuador is becoming legal. So we're talking about changing the game to a certain point to better materials that lets us get into the game vertically at another level. So that's my big ass freaking project that I'm trying to do here.
Right.
I'm doing this in Ecuador already also because CBD is legal, THC about to get there.
Awesome.
And we're about to go to Puerto Rico. So at a big scale, that's that. But my whole thing is, one thing is vision, but how do you put it into action, right? So
That's the
this
key.
is where I'm working with other partners with Plugged In. I'm working with the blockchain here. I'm working with organizations in the hoods to build out kind of the workforce around this type of stuff. And not only that, like, who's really about it, and that's kind of been my thing. We are planning in June a beautification project citywide: Harlem, South Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, right here in the Upper West Side, since we're working with our partners. So that way we could work with fellow women and minority-owned businesses, so we could take care and beautify our communities, right? Everything from upcycling to murals to all these things that are very cultural, using artists from our collective that have been vetted by us, right? Like
Right.
that are
That
really
sounds-
with us, that are from the community, that mean well to us. And part of that, it goes into this. This year, I want to filter out all the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, are you about it? Here's the opportunity. Next year's price ain't the same price. And at the end of the day, it's like, why would I want to work with you? You didn't step up when you needed to for your community, right? So, which I mentioned is creating a circle of intention and a circle of commerce. So, who's ever entrepreneurial enough to understand what I'm trying to do, right? And Steve, you know me for years. You
Yes,
know I
I
back
do.
my
Yes,
shit
I
up.
do.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And it's just that, right? And it is not about the money. I don't got money like that. I'm in my investment phase right now
Right.
still. You know what I mean? But it ain't about the money. You know what I mean? Like, we could do more together, and that's what I'm hoping to really do. This is like, how do we all work together? How do we make money together? And how do we grow and take things back over there and do the things the right way that we wish, right? Because if you look at our culture, our history, like, ideally, nobody want to move over here and go through the bullshit that a lot of our family and the trauma and all that shit that our peoples went for.
Right. Of
And that's just another conversation, but we're just trying to keep it positive, right?
Yes, we
And
are.
say that, hold up, I'm a little thirsty. Billionaires Roll Water, it tastes slamming, by the way. You know what I mean? One of
Yeah.
the
Shout out
sponsors
to
there,
Billionaire Rose Water. They sponsored us today. They working with our team at the blockchain, and the plugged in.
Hell yeah, they help fuel the billionaire ideas that are coming out of here. You know what I mean? Because none of this is small scale stuff. You know.
So, like, how would someone like connect with you to like find out more information, maybe join up, maybe connect with other leaders from the community? Like, how would someone watching like reach out to you or anyone that will be
Well,
interviewing today?
ideally, we're creating a space that you can reach out to anybody because it's all part of a network, right? And we're all eating and we're all trying to do things. If you want to reach out to me, my website is rlopezassociates.com. And then I have a separate community website, RLA Community, that's going to be backed by Luniverse, which is a nonprofit that I'm developing for cultural experiences. Because while we're doing good, we should be rewarded for it. You know what I mean? Nothing is free in life. And I feel that when you hear, you're bastardized to a certain level. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember coming here when I was 8 years old, raised in Brooklyn. It was wild. But, I went from calling me Ricardo, that's my name, to going Ricardo, right? Like, trying to be like, doing that. And now, right now, luckily, I'm at the phase that I want to know all about my culture, like history. To me, you know what I mean? Like, you got to respect everybody and everything. And after you try to go through that immigrant phase where you try to, like, Americanize yourself, and you look back, and like I said, history is beautiful. You see that we're more than that, right? Because you're trying to find, and luckily I'm a chef, so I could explore my country through that. Sometimes you go, damn, I gotta go to Washington Heights to get right? Because we have our cultural blocks here in New York City, which is great. It's like a little escape, right? I'll be like, damn, I want some pan de bono. I'm going to Jackson Heights, right? Or I'm going over here, so that's beautiful, So we're not away like that, but there's no better smell than when you're back in your country and you get that whatever funk it is, and it's there, and to me that's culture, right? Like, how are we able to give these kids or the youth more than the block, because that's all they see. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
right. Can you tell them a little bit about Hood Appetite and that project that you got going on?
It's hood appetit.
Hood,
Little pussy
Hood
the bass on
Appetite.
there, homie. You know what I mean? My whole thing is, we're talking about community and all this, right? We need to build a voice in our communities, right? Like, I've done some dope shit in the community, and I'm trying to call the news because I think we need something better. And they're like, no lie, one time it happened. We was doing a dope event at La Marqueta, and they were like, yeah, we might show up, right? And there was a dude that was jealous, came through with the butcher knife and butchered away at the girlfriend and all that, and that made the news. You know what I'm
That
saying?
makes so
And the good, and they were right across the street from me where it happened. Very unfortunate traumas and all that stuff that happens in the hood is real and it's different. But now we're going at the perception of us and what they do. So now my whole thing is, how do we develop a voice? I created a Ricardo Lopez network,
Right.
right? To now be able to talk, let's say through Rig Talks, about the projects and the people that are on the team to give you a digestible bite of what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, the team does. We could back it up with A, B, or C. You know what I
I'm
mean?
gonna go backwards a little bit. You mentioned like going back to Quito and all that stuff, and us going to other countries. Can you speak a little bit more about like what you're doing in those countries, what's happening?
Well, Hood Appetit has two, because my whole thing is we're doing a lot and we're simple and we want things fast. So this is where you gotta kind of structure it and digest it. Rick Talks is about me telling you what I'm doing. I'm not asking you for permission, but I'm working with the community because I'm not stepping with disrespect, right? It's about all of us. Then I have the parliament, and the parliament is I'm bringing in a lot of people so we could talk about community stuff. And to me, then Hood Appetit is where then I introduce the world to us, right? Like, this is through food you're able to go back, right? And then it also becomes about curating the culture around it, right? Everything from the food to the fashion to the music to everything around it, and that's things that we're about to work on. So stay tuned, right?
Stay
We're all
tuned,
gonna
guys.
work on this. So we're gonna have the bachata and the salsa and all these other things playing and getting funky with it. But to me, food is very important, right? It's art. It could be curated in so many different ways. It brings you back, and there's an importance to it. In our communities, we live in environmental justice zones, but
Right.
we live in food swamps. We live in food deserts. we're dying from diabetes, hypertension, right? If you look at the difference between a nice neighborhood where we're at right now, so you can see this, right? You have the fresh food here, you have the co-ops, and all these other things. In our neighborhoods, there's like, let's say, a 1 to 17 ratio of bodega to supermarket, just to show that alone, right? Then if you go into the supermarkets, they don't have the fresh food is not that fresh, right? We could go do a study and we're gonna see,
Right,
where
right.
does it come from and things like that. So, for example, within RLA, one of my focuses is developing food systems in communities. I do that by first informing and doing hands-on culinary classes, basically, where I do everything from site visits, right? So that way they can understand, know the difference between a farmer's market and the bodega and all these things. 'Cause you got to show these kids, right? Down to the things like Top Chef, and I do finals for them, and I make it fun, but I help them do what they want at the end of the day, right? Like, how do we make this accessible? So then out of doing that, I started doing like one-on-ones with them and kind of like these little podcasts for the organizations I'm in.
Right.
And then that's where Hood Appetit came, right?
Okay.
Because now I'm like, okay, it's sad and it's bittersweet because I'm helping them, right? But these kids only know like bodega food, right? Chopped cheese and all that. Yeah, there's a
There's a
craze to it and all that, but the people are gonna get mad at me, and I mean no disrespect by it, but that's a fucked up burger at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when you learn culinary and now you're taking it to a level, you know and you understand, right? So I understand making things hood fabulous and all that other stuff, but Schmackwich, if anything, do it that way, right? That's like Wagyu and top level stuff. So I'm completely down with that type of thing. You know what I mean? But
Right.
which goes into sourcing and all this. So what I've been able to do in finding my culture and all these other things. I'm lucky that I grew up in New York. Right, I've been able to have
we
friends
have.
from
I think
all
we all
over.
are.
Yeah.
And we go there and then give me some drinks and I talk the same dialect as you. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and food is one of the things that connects us and
That's
things
what
like
brings
that.
us together, food. you know?
And so I've been to Ecuador. They're developing these projects, talking to the farmers, sourcing from them, doing food demos already over there. Integrating kind of like, I call it Brooklyn fusion cuisine type of thing. You know what I
sounds
mean?
good.
Because it encompasses everything and it's fresh and everything. So I already did that there. I'm doing this here, right? And luckily being in food, I'm able to talk your language through food.
Right.
So you're not only feeding the community, but you're also teaching them about like what's, I guess,
Yes,
organic
yes.
versus
The
what's not.
difference,
Yeah,
the difference.
So,
I'll go to Whole Foods or to the farmers market to source all of that. I'll tell them why. I'll show them the reason. So by the time they finish, they're asking critical questions, right? Like, that's not fair. Why do we have to travel to get food? Like, why does this, right? Like, damn, we sick because why? And all these other things, like, you pay for your health now or later, but it's part of information, right? It's part of these trades that they took out of school that me with partners like yourself
Right.
and other partners, we're bringing that back to the hood then.
So
So if
that-
that happened, then let us do it. It's all good.
So the idea is to create projects with schools to teach the students about how to eat better, how to cook better, and learn about that within their environment, correct?
Because I think crazy, right? I work at a sense of urgency, right? We're dying now.
Right.
Climate change is now. Like, we don't have time to do whatever. So, for example, in the Bronx, I work with a Department of Health. There's a after-school program there, right? So that's IS and PS,
Right.
right? And we're currently done classes. They love it. That they're like, hey, we want your salad dressing.
Right.
Sure, I'm gonna become a vendor, and we're gonna talk that through, right? We want a farmer's market. We want a little thing here. So, and I'm already in the culinary class. I could incorporate it,
So it
right?
makes sense, yeah.
But then let's talk about the spectrum of youth, right? To see what actually we could handle, right? So that's already being done, and that's about to be scaled out. So now provide trainer to trainer component, right? So that way I could take a young chef from the hood in itself, right? From that same hood and be like, let me train you in the curricula that I just built out, right? With these
Right.
people. So now they step in, I share the love, and now we have that dollar revolving. But more importantly, those kids see themselves in that,
Right.
They can see they can kind of do that, right?
Right.
So now that component came in, now it talks about, okay, how do we start creating food systems? Right? How do we start creating the future entrepreneurs? Because I have those contacts. So it really becomes that is I'm building a tunnel I'm here, I'm there. I don't care that there's no money, but things happen. I'll put my money, I'll do whatever I need to do because I already know the market. I know that needs to happen like with anything. That's my marketing cost. That's my investment thing. You know
Right.
what I mean?
How important is like networking with other community leaders and like just trying to get something together? Like you connected us with a blockchain and it.
Intention is important, right? Like I said,
Right.
first of all, there's a lot of leaders, but just because they're leading their thing, don't mean they right leaders. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I think it's important to understand the story in the neighborhood, understand the stakeholders that are part of the neighborhood, so then understand what the problem is, right? Because there's a lot of nepotism, there's a lot of legacy stuff, right? There's a lot of this and that, manipulations and all that in the neighborhoods. And no, everybody's afraid to talk about, everybody's crewed out, right? Which is why you see these issues that haven't been fixed, right? Because now you're gonna understand law and how law works, right? It
Right.
has everything to do with not only with elections, with the DA, with judges, right? It has to do with the police department. I'm not even gonna go that whole thing, right?
Right.
But at first, I think become his understanding, right? It's like taking an aerial view of everything to really understand how the system works, type of thing, right? Which that's a thing in itself that requires a lot of years, my years of being in all different levels of that. But now it's then understanding, okay, so what do we need for this? We need to get shit done no matter what,
Right.
because we can't depend on people that are only there temporary, right?
Right.
Because there's temporary leaders, which are elected. But that's part of how shit happens, though, if you look into it. You know what I mean? Okay, what are they? Votes and money, right? If we had the for-profits that are working together, now we have a little bit more control, right? It's
Right.
understanding how taxes and everything works, right? We're already working with nonprofits. We are for profits, right? We're creating the system around that. Okay, let's do what the rich do. Let's start our own foundation, right? Now we're able to take that money to that foundation, our taxes, to say, let's go into specifically what we're doing. That foundation money then goes to the nonprofits and it goes into a 501c4. What is that? It's a lobbying arm. You know what I'm saying? Now they come to us. We don't go to them type of thing, component, right? But now we're more structured,
Right.
right? We're able to, and that's what we lack,
Yeah,
right?
we
So
don't
we
have
lack, we don't work together at that level. We're always too like,
So
And
like
that's what we're
like
doing
not
now.
having that
We're
knowledge.
coming together. We bring in all of our forces. We're the ones that come from the trenches, right? And now we're the ones that can voice it, showcase it, and present it to the world. And that's a great thing that you've been working on, all these initiatives to maximize community affairs.
definitely ownership, right? Ownership. How do we first? We can't take care of other people unless we take care of ourselves, right? So I'm not having a nonprofit combo right now, right? Like if we ain't about making money with each other and all that, you ain't about that supporting other people's business. This is the homie. This is not mine. This is mine, right?
Right.
Then keep it moving, like, right? And the only way you know this is through time and circumstance. I have certain people that I don't work with no more. It happens, right? But you don't give up on, let's say, the human spirit, and then you keep it moving, and you're gonna do what you need to do. Simple, you know what I mean? I'm the type that I don't care, right? I'll make it happen one way or another.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So tell us anything that you want viewers to know, or any sort of facts about yourself, or what you're doing that might be interesting for the fans to know.
Well, we're about to do a fundraiser here in May, so stay tuned for that. This is where we're gonna highlight the actual projects, get more in depth and detail, right? I can show you previous projects that we've done already in Ecuador and Quito and the Galapagos. What we're about to do in Puerto Rico, plans of for next year to do certain things. But this is going to be an opportunity to be about it. Maybe, you could come in and be a volunteer, right? And help with the cleanup and all these things. We're definitely going to be doing sign-ups for that there. Maybe, this needs money. There's a lot of work that goes into doing this, It would be great if, the team got paid a little bit, to be fully transparent, right? But we're creating, let's say, an economy around doing good, right? Around actually doing something about it that you can physically do. And this is what that block by block campaign and initiative we're doing, we're plugged in, comes into it, the citywide annual thing that we're committing to. So this is the first June of forever that we are about to start fixing our hoods. So that's one thing to know. This is not just a little gimmick,
Right.
I'm just here to do this one thing. This is an annual commitment that we'll be working on to make sure that we, alongside other nonprofits, for-profits that are from the hood, that are from here first and foremost, right? And then, yeah, we're open to allies, but This needs to be initiative driven by us, that grew up here. I'm talking about went through the education department, 20 plus years type of thing, right?
Right.
And like I said, it's inclusive, it's open to allies also, but we need to be our voice, that we're
Right.
not. We usually let other people control our culture, these other things. I'm not about that, and it's stopping, at least with us, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we're doing this fundraiser, and in June, we are going to do a citywide. Every Saturday, we're going to the Bronx, we're going to Harlem.
Shout out
We're
to the
doing
Bronx.
it here, definitely, we're doing this over there by Webster, 170th Butler Houses, so we're going to talk about the
I
hood.
went to
We in
That's
there.
where we was
You
at.
know
I
what
went
I
to
mean?
Where we
middle
from.
school there. Yeah.
So serendipity, right? You
Right.
just happened to be there. It wasn't planned. You
Yeah.
just said that,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
that's
went
what
to
it's
school right
about,
there.
man. The gods are
CIS
with us.
147, right there on the block.
The gods are with us. We're about to do a beautification. We're about to start a farmer's market there with one of the for-profit businesses in a little garage there. We make your magic happen, right? And you're going to see that, right? So we're going to be in these hoods, Brooklyn, Queens, Harlem, Bronx. We're going to do something here in the Upper West Side also to tie this all in. We are going to Puerto Rico to do this also in July, right? Because we have the homie Raymond at Mi Patria, right? MiPatria.org you could go to, right? They've been doing the real deal rebuild. I know because I went there and I physically did it with them. So that's the only way I vouch. You know what I mean? I went to Puerto Rico. I did
You
the
actually did
physical.
it.
I was with the tan and everything, right? And I have the video, but I'm not the selfie type, right?
Right.
But I'm more than happy to curate how we're telling these stories. You know what I mean? Because it ain't about the selfie. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it's about really doing it. And then we continue in this in Ecuador. This is really global. We're doing this
Yeah,
in
because
the
international. It's
Galapagos. Big
internationalized.
thing, big things on one, right?
Yeah, it becomes
And in Quito,
internationalized.
so it's very cultural. We're working with the Amazon. This allows us to develop these cultural experiences that we do in there.
Right.
So those are the big things that we're working on in the next couple of months right now. That we're gonna need support for. That we're gonna definitely market ourselves to, and we're lining up with the right brands that believe it and know it from the beginning. Because I'm not into followers. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like later on, they'll get the full corporate thing, but right now we're looking at strategic alliances, not only with the right organizations or our corporations that could assist us at a local level, but at a global level, because we've been talking about the R next year, right?
Yeah.
We talking, I got the homie Toby, whatever. Like everybody wants this because they see that we could do this or we do this
Yeah.
to a certain level. You know what I mean? So to me, it's the big picture in this is building carbon negative environments. We already have this global programming and everything going, you know
Right.
what I mean? And building resilience and equity.
Right.
You know what I mean? Getting ready for the future because shit is fucked up, right? We see what's happening everywhere, right? Being ready for that. And all of us having a part, and we look at and I'll end it with this, right? If you look at every industry across the board, minority and woman representation is within the single digits.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we need to get everywhere that
Shout
we
out
can
to all
think
our
of.
women's out there.
Definitely, you know what I mean? And there's certifications and things for that. So that's what we're about to start doing. Is linking,
Right.
all,
Connecting the dots with the right
connecting it,
people, the right
yes,
teams.
bringing in investments. We're gonna have an opportunity zone convo another time. That's heavy financials, but that's another concept, financial literacy, and all these other skill sets that we need to get to. But a little bit at a time. You know what I mean?
Right.
One big question is like, what is like the biggest issue in the community, right? We have so many, but what is one of those issues that is it sustainability? Is it learning about food and how it affects us, or what is it that you feel like is the biggest like concern with our communities today? We just had the pandemic
information
happen.
and knowing about what's sustainable is a mindset, right?
Like
It's
the
not
pandemic
just
kind
one
of changed
thing, you know?
everything.
It's all intertwined,
Right.
right? If we're gonna look at preventative, is looking at everything and how it all affects us. It's all part of traumas that we carry and have, right? I think, like you mentioned, is information, right? We gotta know where we're from to know where we're going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this bastardization, having the history going back to our countries, doing something, nobody does anything good for nobody because things are messed up, and I get it, you know what I mean? But to me, it's all intertwined. Like, one of the processes to not only the beautification that we're doing is, one of my partners is the U.S. Green Building Council. They're the matatanes that certify all the buildings, that got the engineers,
That's like the lead
architects, the whole
cert. That's
nine.
the lead cert.
Yeah, the LEED
Oh, that's
certification.
awesome.
So they have a lead for community certification where I look at everything at a aerial point of view so I can start looking at transportation, air quality, quality of life, and know these other bigger things and now start trying to tackle things in a strategic way. And all that info then helps build out white papers and then help out laws and then help out all these things that needs to, because there's a structure to how
Right.
things
Needs
need
to
to be
happen.
done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Got it.
So I already started this in Brooklyn, doing this with a high school that I'm at, and we're gonna have a talk because we're looking to maybe bring this to Harlem and everywhere. So that's how you start looking at things from that point of view.
Right.
And to me, then the action point is what we're doing also, right? Is
Because a lot of people
Teaming up
also
to
feel,
support the cause, to then create the content around it to inform the community.
correct.
because a lot of people also feel like just voting is enough, and I think that it goes beyond that. It goes like
Homie,
the
listen.
community level, right?
Listen, see, and this is where this is gonna make me sound ignorant to a certain point, but not really. But I don't really care. But to me, it's all like, it is what it is. It's like I can't stand when people just vote and they take a selfie and that's all they did. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. It's right. Like my mom, I asked her who you vote for. She was like, "You voted?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Who you vote for?" "Oh, Democrat."
But the question is why then, right?
Why?
Why you did that,
Right?
you
Like
know?
the follow. What have you done? So me, I've never voted, right? Because I've seen it and I rather do it. Will I vote soon? Yes, but I would like to do it strategically in a way that actually means something than just me voting, right? As you can see, I'm not only I want to vote, but then I'm developing the white paper to the reason for the change. I'm developing the network
Right.
to now be able to have some type of leverage to the actual voting, because if you look at the numbers, whether it's council, this, that, those are low numbers. It's not a lot of votes. You
Right.
feel me? But the thing is, most people don't vote, this, that, don't care, the division that happens within it, because it's all divided, which is why there's only two parties, right? And if you really look into it, like, the corporations pay into both anyways, so it don't matter who loses because they win regardless. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Lobby to both, yeah.
homie, how do we have fake food and we got to pay more for healthier food? We're going to talk about all this, right? So we can
Yeah,
get
there's
into
a lot
all
of
that.
sections and like industry that we can tap
During the
into.
pandemic, like McDonald's took away their salads, and I usually used to go and get a salad. And I'm like, wait a second, like there's no more salads in McDonald's.
Right.
Like they just slowly sneaked it out, and now kids are just going back to the normal like old school McDonald's way. After they
Bro.
kind of changed that up in like what was that?
But even the food in the schools
2000s?
is like we can't control that, right?
another thing.
The parents are not controlling that part of dieting or lifestyle.
But who's controlling the kids is more the state.
that's the-
becoming
that's-
too, right?
That's the issue.
Like-
Like we don't really even have much control of what like what lessons our kids learn, what they're eating,
What
you
they're reading, right?
What they're reading.
What they're reading and watching.
Listen,
concerning.
I saw a lot during the pandemic. I was lucky to team up with World Central Kitchen. We fed a lot of people.
He
and I
felt
was
like a
able to
million
see
people
this.
throughout COVID, guys. He was standing out there doing hand to hand to like
Awesome.
a million people.
Farmers market and everything. It was heartbreaking, right? Because most of them were immigrants, right? Because at least low income people had something. But if you saw how things happened or just everything in there, it was just crazy. It looked like, I'm not even gonna get into everything that happened though, but we were able to show that we could work together with everyone.
Right. That's the goal.
In Bushwick, everybody was there. None of crazy stuff was happening everywhere, but that's because they had things set up. They had the bricks there waiting for them. They had all these type of things. It was all you know what I'm saying? Like, and not only that, now that you're starting to look things at now, right, with Twitter and who bought it and this and that and these things with Congress, like who made money off of this, right? And just to end it, so I don't get murdered, the way I look at this is drugs ain't there to cure you. There's like over 25,000 drugs and none of them cure you. You feel me? So that's just how I'm at with things, which is why if you go ancestral, we have natural ways to go about doing things, right?
Natural
There's
remedies, naturopathic ways to go.
how we source our food, you name it, because all of this food, all this is killing us, air,
Right.
everything, you know what I mean?
Water.
Well, one of the ways like me and Ricardo connected was like he brought like we met at like an art gallery that was supporting sustainability, and I went there, I showed some love, and we connected, and he brought a lot of value to what we were doing, and then all the sectors that he was presenting as far as sustainability, I was like all in with it. I was like, oh, this is my guy. You know what I mean? So we built a relationship around the concept of sustainability, and right now we're looking to create projects that are going to be talking about sustainable fashion, Web3, blockchain, and NFTs and stuff like that.
Definitely resilience within that, because you think smart buildings is a new future, right? Everything from an app, right? Everything from your irrigation system, if you're in cannabis, sensors, lighting, you name it. That's the future,
Right.
Not only that, is like, if we're going to talk about our countries and what's coming, like, we have solar generators, military, more things to come on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
from
no,
sustainable
definitely.
products, sustainable artists, sustainable
Interior
brands,
design, you name
like
it.
the more is having the conversation around it so we can educate people. And like from us, it's like we come from the inner cities, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan. Is like for us to be, take our information and then just portray the information we have. I think we're gonna make an impact. Shout out to the blockchain and the blockchain center and
Definitely.
all the partners.
Listen, they're
plugged
here.
in.
Listen, the blockchain's in a big part into what we're trying to do,
Right.
because my whole thing is this: out of all the stuff that we're doing, how do you build a return on investment on human capital, and what does that look like, right? So here with the blockchain, ideally, we have branded stuff. I have Dolo the Owl and all these other things coming
Right.
in, right? To be able to NFT them, to be able to build a metaverse around it, to be able to build some type of coin, right? That ideally we're trying to back up with cannabis, food, water, and electricity.
Right.
And what does that look like? That's full resilience, and we could build that in every country, type of thing. Build the network, because everything's going digital regardless. You see them telling
Yeah,
you,
like
right?
we everything is being digitized now.
yeah.
So we need to just learn how to digitize it. We need to learn how to brand it. We need to learn how to gather the data and run advertising on our projects so we can start from the ground up and build a community around those things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the bank also around it, right? Shoot, right? It's $250 to build a co-op, $1 million to build a real bank, right? Back it up digitally. There's a lot of ways to do things, but step by step type of thing. You know what I mean? Like with anything, right? Big vision,
Right.
having shared commonalities, and just go do it.
Yeah, it's taking action, guys. Like, if you guys take action on your goals, your dreams, initiatives that you guys have, you can do it, and you can't do it alone. And that's why we all coming together in a group way, right? Because now we're stronger together. Using all of our force, our technology, our information is key. Like, I learned so much today from people who are here in the background. Shout out to everybody behind the scenes, because we're about to bring a lot of value to the community, using these environments.
Listen, it's about, we all have our own, and that's the cool thing about the collective and the community we have here. Like, everybody has their own lane.
Right.
We're building highways right now, super highways. That's kind of how I look at it. And if there's more people, then we build a collective around it. You know what I
Right.
mean? But the narrative is we're building business together here and
And
over
expand
there.
that internationally.
You know what I mean? It's already there. We're showing examples of it. It ain't
Right.
rocket science. You know what I mean? We hold New York City to retail, but like I mentioned, we let other people hold down the keys of our culture for us. You know what I'm saying? We should
Yeah.
be part of all of that.
Guys, make sure that you follow us on the Innovators Den on YouTube, on Instagram, and all your other platforms. Also, make sure that you look up the Blockchain Center and find out what they're doing, and Plugged In.
Yeah, we have the Plugged In. Shout out to David from the Plugged In. We also got the Innovators Den, guys. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. We have RLA, of course. We
Yo,
got
Lopez
Mr.
Associates.
He's the one who got us all in the room, and it's much appreciated having you today.
I
And,
appreciate it.
We have a lot to to come.
We got a lot of work. We got to back up
Yeah.
what was said right now, right?
Yeah, and we're doing that now. We're delivering, we're connecting the right people, and we are basically taking the next step to promoting this content, in the Innovators Den.
Yeah, make sure that you follow us. Stay tuned. We're gonna have a lot of amazing guests with great innovative ideas to spark your brains. Thank you, guys.